Hey, and we're going live here. It's about almost noon. I'm at the Oak Room. Just had my fruit and whipped cream. So I'm satiated by my hot water and honey. So go get yourself a libation, sit down, get comfy. And each of these shows that I do are basically shamanic ceremonies, right? Energy. I'm putting energy out into you guys, right? Out to you, letting you feel it, right? And so I want you to visualize. And first and foremost, I want you to realize that it's you, not that the world is about you or the life's about you, or it's not about the me and you. It's about the you and me, right? And so, and that's, I keep talking about love's co-creation within the dynamic of all our relations. You come from that shamanic space, that frame. You, your perspective is totally different. Instead of thinking about, oh, how cool is my house? How cool am I looking? Or watch me work out? Or, oh, look at me stuff food in my mouth. Right now, when I'm sharing a meal with you, I'm trying to basically enjoy the meal, right? Because that's why you have a meal with a friend. You enjoy sharing, right? That's what it's all about, right? So I think I might go on about the whole crone because she didn't have to pick me up in Dublin, She didn't have to. She came into that library because she didn't have to go there. So that wasn't part of where she normally went. But she came there because Archie told her about me and she wanted to check me out. And there I was over, everybody else was so cool. They all had their big carols. Everybody was respecting them. Me, I just was put there. And so I had a little table and, I was trying to figure out this book I was reading. Hey, Fish, good to see you, bud. And, she didn't look at anybody else. She just kept, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? And when I kept looking at her, I thought I was dissing her. No, she was like, what am I looking at in that book? Then when she got closer and closer and kept saying that, and the fact that I didn't run away, and that she saw me trying to find the key to that book, to see how to deconstruct it and understand it. She says, okay, this kid is worth talking to. And we talked, and that's when, right away she said, I forget being here. You need to come up to my farm. And I said, well, I'm here on a grant and, I can't just walk away. And she goes, well, go talk to Larry, the guy who ran the whole freaking school. And I said, so this lady, the old crone, she wants me to, you talk to her? I said, yes. Well, I've tried to talk to her for 50 years. She won't talk to me. She doesn't even, she can't. So he says, go. So that's how I ended up with the old crone. But what she was really doing was wanting me to understand. She understood that I realized that things weren't as they are told to me, right? Because I think I've told you before, if I have any kind of need or want or addiction or any of those things, it is to know. I need to know. If you ever saw one of the last Indiana Jones movies where the commies are looking for the crystal skulls and the female scientist who's in charge of everything, she's always carrying her sword. In that last scene where they're in the pyramid down in, Quetzalcoatl or wherever they are down in South America, and all those crystal skulls come together and become one. And she just keeps, everybody takes off because she's just staring straight at this. I want to know. I need to know. I want to know. And he laser beams knowledge in the poor girl's head. And so that was me. I want to know. But I was smart enough to know not to do that. I mean, there were a number of times where I could have had that laser beam, but no, I didn't want to not be me because I knew the real reason for being here was to be here in this life, to experience this, right? And to serve, right? And to wanting to know is not serving. It's like a need, right? Now I've indulged in everything, right? But just little bits, I indulged for 10 years with the, you know, desperate lawyers, and they paid me really well, and I liked that pay. I would work 11 weeks a year and make a six-figure salary. And if I had worked every 52 weeks like a lot of those morons, I'd have like $1 million a year, or more. But I didn't need that, because the rest of the time, I luxuriated in rich people's places because they thought I was funny, they thought I was entertaining, So, and I got exposed to those rich people because those are the people I was, working for the desperate lawyers to negotiate with. And out of those crews, there'd always be somebody who goes, you should, I was very interesting what you just did here. Why don't you come? I have this nice place, in Malibu. I have this nice place in Hawaii. I have this nice place in Alaska. I got this nice place in Wyoming. I got this nice place, I would go there and spend, as much time as they would allow me to stay there. Their nickel until they got tired of me, Hey, Janie, it's kind of like, and those people saw the value in me, right? And I would cook for them, even though they'd have chefs and staffs. I would cook and make a mess, and they would, wow, that tastes good. And I would cook for the, the people who would work there. I would, read their palms. I would adjust them. I do all these kind of things. And those rich people, them saying, I have a mother. She really needs. Could you go stay with her? She's like dying. And my parents died, so I spent 20 years with them. So I was well versed in that, and I did that. So I would say in those 10 years, I spent a good deal of that time with about 20 to 50 different people outside of working with the desperate lawyers. I would only do 11 of those a year and get a nice paycheck, right? Which allowed me to invest in things and buy real estate and do this and do that. And but the majority of my time I spent with these people because I felt that if I could, these were the richest of the rich people. They were billionaires. And if I could crack their heart, make them feel better, they might make the world a better place, right? So I did exactly what I did with John. But all of those really rich people valued what I did. John, not so much. There were times when he could kind of see the glimmer of the light, but he threw me out 36 different times. In the 3 years, between when we closed and he took over the school, and the last time he threw me out, it's basically 3 years to the day. The day he threw me out was, the day 3 years later, and I bought a keg of beer so we could have a little party. He didn't want to celebrate. He just wanted to scream and yell and tell me how evil I was. He did not appreciate any of this stuff. And a good deal of cleaning that house up. I mean, I did a lot of sheetrock, did a lot of taping, did a lot of fixing things or motivating things to get done, Because John's pretty good at doing stuff once he gets going, right? It's to get going that he can have a problem with. And that's what most people have a problem with. That's why he's the canary in the coal mine. Within the dynamic of his totality, he really represents a lot of characteristics in the human experience. And that's why I want to talk about Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, right? And what are they? They are the physical, I need to be safe. I need to have food. I need to have a roof over my head. I need to be warm. That's physical safety. Then there is basically safety in your sense of safety, that no one's going to attack you, that that's why I'm much happier to be out in the woods living with the bears and the cats and everybody out in the woods than with John, because I could never tell. Being with him, I was never safe, because he could explode and get upset. I mean, he was never violent to me. I saw him violent to everything around him, to himself. And at some point, he could have definitely. I mean, one time he got so mad, he had a hammer in his hand, and he was like looking at me like, I'm going to cave your head in. And when he said, get out, I told him the hammer like that, well, I got out. But then he would get, please come back, please come back, please come back, please come back. So I would come back, because he's my friend, and I pretty much do everything to completion. So pretty much 3 years, and the last, he threw me out April or May, somewhere in there. And then I came back 2 more times. Once where I lasted, he threw me out after a day, and the next time after 3 hours. So from May until now, I haven't been up to school, And he goes, oh, it's costing me money. No, how can I cost him money if I haven't been there for more than, whatever, from May to now is 70, 80, 100 days. And all those other years, from when we closed till now, he threw me up, like I said, 36 times. And each of those times, I didn't come right back. I would go get involved in something interesting. When I lived with the girly man and down with the, LGBT crew, there's a section of Roanoke where there are all these SROs, single room occupancies, big old rich people's houses that they turned into ghetto. And that's where, all the drugs were sold, all the, like I said, all the sex workers were. And what was interesting was the major people who utilized that were Roanoke has 600 churches, and I worked for a number of them. So I got to know not all, but a lot of the ministers, especially the big churches. And virtually they were the clientele. And the house I was in, I was this, and the LGBT guys, they can take a cruddy place and turn it into an amazing place. So the girly boy that I was living with was brilliant, really Einstein, smarter than Einstein, Tesla brilliant. And he was a guy he had cures for cancer. But the stress that was put on him through the social structure, and he liked it that I was totally accepting and would hang with him and talk about things. And I needed to put John threw me out. It was snowing. And he said, oh, I need a roommate, just $200 a month. And I could do that. I said, that's it. So he paid all the rent, this, that. And I got him a job, a good job, running an organization. Because he's organizational. He was brilliant. And he did a great job. And the guys who I got that job for him, we were like, wow, he saved our ass, man. He's run. You showed him how to write grants, and he's got it, But then he went off the cliff and just ran away and didn't tell me about it. So he left that job in the lurch, and he left, he didn't pay the rent for 2 months, and then they threw me out. And the day I was getting thrown out, John called me up and said, oh, please take care of me, please come. And he came and got me. So it worked out pretty amazingly. So I would say for the 3 years that I was up at the school, maybe a year and a half. The rest of the time, 2 summers, I was out in the deep green, like this one. I've been out in the deep green since May. Twice I came back for a few days because I had to have my eyes worked on. And I'm working on finding people to take care of me here. So that's, So I'm getting to the point where I don't need to go back to Roanoke, right? But there are a lot of people I care about, and I used to help, and now I can't be there to do that. And John could not understand how he, if he just was, I try to take him to things, and why should I be with these people? They're the, I can't make any money from them. Why are you helping them? You're not making any money. You're costing me money. So Maslow's hierarchy comes from the physical, food, shelter, safety, like no one's going to hit you in the head with a hammer. And then there's love and belonging, right? And that's when you have friends. That's when you have people who care about you. When somebody who will, when you get sick, they come bring you soup, or when you lose your pet turtle, they will come and have cocoa with you. That's love and belonging. It's not even the love and belonging. It's not even, your sweetie, your girlfriend. No, that's a whole different. That's the eros, right? So love and belonging is part of that, but only, that's the big header, and then there are other little substratas underneath it. And but the belonging part is that that's why people join the army, because they want to belong to something more than themselves. That's why guys will jump on a grenade, because they are so attached to that squad that they're thinking about them rather than themselves. They love their brothers and sisters, and they want them to be safe, and they will sacrifice themselves. Above those other two, the physical one and the safety one, the love and belonging is very interesting. Then there's self-esteem, right? Now, self-esteem is when you kind of know who you are, right? And once you get to that, then you don't, and one of the things that John, I'm putting everything in construct to John Birmingham, because you guys know him. I've been talking about the canary in the coal mine. And John has no self-esteem. I mean, why does he work out like that? Why does he have to, fix things up to a point where he thinks, oh, it's almost like new. Oh, people will really, why does he show it on the video all the time, And his videos aren't about all our relations, about us, Well, Salvation Army, pretty much. So Roanoke, why did I spend 20 years in Roanoke? It's because it was the microcosm of the United States. And, I used to get paid to look at trends. I didn't have to travel all over the place to look. I just had to stay in Roanoke. And and there were other places I stayed to look at things, but that was one, I ran into Inga. She needed the money. I bought the school. That's why I bought the school. Had the money, and, she needed it, and what was really nice, I bought it, I guess, in 03, give her around then, and she died in 08. So for the next 5 years of her life, she didn't have to worry about money, right? So, and I was, especially spring, summer, and fall, I would cruise in and go down. I know what she liked. I would buy her groceries, come up there, we'd have lunch, I'd leave it all in her fridge. And then I would, I'd say we'd have lunch 3 or 4 times. I'd take her downtown. Yeah, but as my mom said, and I'm just responding to James here. JB needs to connect to an empathetic soul. He needs to find his own empathetic soul, and that's part of what self-esteem is. When you are empathetic, when you're thinking of the other guy, when you're putting yourself in the other guy's shoes, that's an empathetic. That's what James talking about. You need to upgrade to humanity 4.0, but so does humanity. The present humanity that we watch, Donnie Chump and the soap opera is about humanity negative 4.0, and the only thing keeping us here is that the majority of humanity, most of the time, is a human being, doesn't let the stress and the anxiety get a hold of them. The points they do, but a good portion of the population there is. I mean, just go to a Walmart. Those people are zombies. Just consume, buy, right? So how many folks are here for? Hey, Robinson. Yeah, Christmas can be good or bad. You know, did you ever see Dickens' Christmas Carol? Great. You know, that and Tale of Two Cities were the only two books he wrote, with an arc. He understood the beginning, middle, and end, right? All the rest of his David Copperfield, everything else, he wrote in the newspaper, and he just kept writing and writing until the editor said, "Okay, figure out a new one." So, but he wrote Christmas Carol in a way so every Christmas he would perform it. He memorized it, and he would perform it. It would take him about an hour and a half, right? And he wrote it. It takes about an hour and a half to read out loud, so you can read it to the kids, right? Christmas night. And my mom used to do that, right? Because she liked reading out loud, especially to me. She and I would read a lot together. But hold on a second. Hey, buddy. I was going to give you a call, but I got distracted. So is tomorrow a good day for you? I have to, I don't have too much food, so I've signed myself up for the food bank, and it's tomorrow. So in the morning, I'm going to get down there as early as I can and try and get back to the lodge by noon. So, okay, good. So I'm going to try and get there by noon, and then I'll have some food to share with you. I've been drinking bark and eating grass the last few days, but today I'm having a nice breakfast in my favorite oak room over here in Johnson City. Yeah, I had a few little chores. I've hooked myself up to doctors here, so I don't have to go back to Roanoke. So I'm wiring myself, into this neck of the woods. Yeah, I am. Yeah. But it's like anything else. Most people just take what they're given. So yeah, right, exactly. And then you have to endure yourself. I have one doctor who takes care of me in Boone, he's over the months he's gotten to like me, so he takes care of me, and and that's what I'm gonna have to do with the guys here, and they got a little more on top of it than Boone. So, but anyway, it's all a matter of wiring yourself in. So, okay, buddy. I'm on my live chat as we speak, so I'm going to go back to it. So I'll get back to the lodge by noonish, and whenever you show up, that'll be great. Okay, buddy. Love you. Yep. Do. So that's my buddy, and that guy's pretty interesting guy. He's a colonel. He's been a colonel in every military. He's really a brilliant guy, and he's maybe a little. We're about the same age, but maybe a little older by a year or so. And what's really amazing is that he and I have had a parallel life, and that as I got to know him, I met him 10 years ago, maybe more. And we just bumped into each other. We started talking, and we had similar experience. Okay, I tell a story, he tell a story, I tell a story. He didn't tell me really who he was or what he did for at least a year. And it's interesting. He called because it's Sagway, so we enjoyed each other's company, and he likes to drink beer, and I don't. That's cool. And so, and we'd cook chicken on my fire, and that was, he would come over like he's going to do tomorrow. We'd cook chicken, he'd drink beer, and we'd tell stories. Anyway, And this is a great segue. It's amazing that he just called. So I've known him about a year. We've had a number of experiences together. We're both electricians at that time, and he had a couple of big jobs where he couldn't find anybody who knew what they were doing. They kept screwing up. So he said, "You want to work? Sure, I need some." Yeah, right. So I would do it, and he was like, "Wow, you are an electrician." You know, transformers and controls and big machines, and because we wired a factory together, and we just, and he thought it was going to take him months, and him and I just would get there at 6 and just, and it was because the guys we had to work around were like drunks, and they kept leaving crap, and I'm always cleaning things up, and then I start to work, and they would mess it up, and anyway, so. He had me work on a few jobs, so he realized I was a real electrician. But anyway, so one night, he's like, "Oh, we're over to the lodge, and we're chewing on the chicken, and it gets dark. We're watching all the stars, and the stars start doing this, moving around. And do you know what an Ouroboros is? You know what the Fibonacci, numbers are. Did you ever see a shell? A conch shell, and it kind of goes in. Or you ever see, the there's I forget what they call it, but it's like where you have everything you want, and it's this big swirl, and all this food and vegetables and bread and everything's coming out of it. Um, so I want you to close your eyes and visualize that shell. And so there we are, all of us, my friend and I, and we are looking up at the stars, and the stars turn into the Fibonacci, symbols, the conch shell, and it's a teleportation tube, it's a going through the wormhole, and we go through that, right? And we come out into this blue world, my friend and I, and he meets an alien, right? And we pop out there, and this guy's all blue, and he's got feathers, right? He's very tall. He's got kind of a bird head, but it's a human head, but he's got feathers that go down his back, and he's got a nose, but it kind of looks like a beak, and but he's not wearing any clothes, and from his like chest down, because this is all blue, from the chest down are scales, and and the feathers go down and go into a fin, and his feet are like, I've shown you pictures of the Aborigines and how they walk on their feet, and they're like these big flat things. His feet look like that, like a duck's, right? And but not as awkward. And anyway, so we pop out, bing, into this blue world, and we're like on a beach, and the ocean goes forever. And the beach goes for quite a while, but on the backside, it's like the ocean comes all the way around, and it's just this sliver of beach. And we pop out, and the big shell is on the beach, and it's like on the sand, and we're coming out of the shell. And I've worked with a lot of solar power. Yep, big farms. All kinds of. I've worked with every kind of power there is. Yeah, John and ours videos were pretty good, but he got up. He got upset that people told him to shut up and just let me tell the story, and that's when he threw me out. One of the first times, But anyway, let's go back to the story of the blue and my friend Colonel. Anyway, so we pop out and of the shell, and I kind of want you guys to go into state and experience this, because this is a really good portal. You know, go look at the Ouroboros, go look at wormholes, go look at the Fibonacci numbers. Anyway, virtually every indigenous people has this in it. And a part of, why I was talking about Maslow's hierarchy of human needs is because after self-esteem comes, um, self, when you make yourself to that quintessential person who you are, like, Buddhist on the side of the road, and traveler goes, wow, are you God? And Buddha goes, no. Well, what are you, man? What are you? And Buddha says, I'm awake. And that's being self-aware, which is one step above. That's where the golden thread is that takes you up. And when I keep talking about ascending your consciousness, right? And that's what this is about. Yeah, I'm talking about the blue avian race. Yep. And so, we pop out of the shell, and the blue guy says to my friend, so who's this guy? He goes, oh, he's okay. He goes, he wouldn't have come through if you didn't want him here. And he kind of looks at me, goes, yep. Oh, I know him. Yes. Okay. And he goes, he is, the Padawan of the old crone. And I go, this guy knows the friggin' old crone. And then I go, why should I be surprised? So, so we walk along the beach. And, in that movie, Contact, when Jodie Foster sits in the chair and goes through all of the slingshots and pops out and meets her father. Well, that's the kind of beach we were on, but it had no palm trees. And like I said, it was a beach, and the shell was in it, like it was a shell found on the beach. And the ocean went all the way this way, and then it came around, and behind us, the beach was back there a good deal, but it didn't go into mountains and green, and it just was back there was the ocean. You walked however far back that way, you hit the ocean. Anyway, so we walk along the beach, and there are different shells among the different, and those were different portals, right? Anyway, so we talked, and he talked about the old crone and what she was, what he was, and what humanity was, and this was all about being self-aware. When you're self-aware, you can understand these things. If you're not, you're stuck in having the roof over your head, having something to eat, where you have to buy, tons of food just so you can have it. Me, when it gets to the middle of the month and I have no more money and no more food stamps, I basically have to get bark off the trees and boil it and drink the tea and the mushrooms and the green ferns that are growing, and a few cans of stuff I may have, right? So that's what keeps me alive. And it's actually, I've been doing that now for, since May, so I'm not dead. My endocrinologist is telling me that I'm getting better, I guess, or the doctor I have is, like I tell my friend that I found a good doctor and I've got him interested. So he kind of takes care of me, right? And the only thing that I still may have to go to, the difference in the cost of the medicines is unbelievable. I've wired myself in a place in Roanoke where for $10 I get $90 worth of medicine, 90 days worth of medicine, 90 days worth of my blood pressure medicine, 90 days for my diabetes, 90 days for my neuropathy. And I've been able to cut out And when I first started, I was taking like 10, 15 medicines. Now I only take 3, and cinnamon and turmeric. Anyway, the guys I get those medicines for 90 days um, cost me $10 plus the little spiky things and the little strips to get my blood sugar. $10 for all of that, right? For 90 days. Here at, Walgreens, it's $1,800 just for 1 month of my diabetic medicine. Now, I've still got about 4 or 5 weeks left of my medicines before I have to get a refill, and maybe that's when I have to go back to Roanoke. And if I go back to Roanoke, that might be just around when my friend is going to be running for her position in the state legislature, and my friends who are on the pipeline, they might need another little visit from me to make him happy. And maybe John might be, as I think Jane said, human 4.0, empathetic soul. He might stumble onto an empathetic soul because his soul is looking pretty harried in the most recent videos he's been doing. Because it's really hard to be all by yourself unless you have self-esteem and are, becoming self-aware. And if you're not that, that's when the boogeyman comes and gets you. And that's when you can, slip off the tread. So, oh, Jessica Tandy, yeah. Cocoon, great. Yep. Yeah, I like Jessica. She used to be in. She was part of the Manhattan Theater Club. All that old crew, and they joined the Manhattan Theater Crew and part of HB Studios when they were younger, when they were in their 30s and 40s, and I met them when they were in their 50s, and they were playing Broadway. And I was Herbert Berghoff and Uta Hagen's TD and master electrician, just like I was Living Theaters TD and master electrician, and a bunch of different interesting avant-garde theaters in New York. And New York was great between the 50s and 90. It was a very interesting avant-garde place. It still is in its own way. It's just different now, So we were walking on the beach, and there were all these other shells, and those were other slingshots to go to other places, and it was a time. Yep. So everyone get in a comfortable state, right? And breathe that 20% in. Breathe out that 30%. Close your eyes. And you feel the prana come in as you fill your lungs with it. Your heart is pumping the blood through it. And these guys just got a Nobel Prize the other day for medicine about oxygen. And that's the prana. They're talking about oxygen, but I'm talking about prana. And prana is a more energetic. Oxygen is just, O2. Prana is a lot more than O2. Oxygen can't, animate your avatar. Prana can. So see yourself breathing in that prana, that photonic light. See the photonic light right behind me? See, there's the shadows. This is kind of fun. The light above me is an incandescent light. That's where the shadow's coming from. But from this way, there is no shadow. See, only the incandescent light. Right? So that's the prana behind me, right? Breathe that in. And when you breathe out, you're breathing out all the toxins. Breathe in, breathe out. See it clearly. And in every day and every way, you take the piece of the earth and make it stronger and realize that your life is ceremony. It's not consumption. The meat puppet just consumes. When you watch John eat that Mexican food, he just shovels it in. He's not enjoying it. It's just I made him over 1,000 meals like that. Because the least expensive food to make that's good is kind of Mexican food. Rice and beans, chicken, cheese, taco, and or quesadilla. Mostly I did quesadillas. And I would make that and vegetables, fresh vegetables. I would saute them. So, rice and beans on the big plate, and then vegetables on top of that, and 2 or 3 of the quesadillas. Pretty much, I made John 1,000 of those. So he bought that food from Grubhub, probably cost him $200 or $300. How much did those 1,000 meals that I ate him cost, right? And he never enjoyed it. He would eat the first. Wow, this is amazing. Because the first thing, did you piss in that? Did you shit in that? Did you spit in that? And I'm eating the same thing. It's coming from the same frying pan. And that's when you're only concerned about the first two of Maslow's thing: the physical, food, and the safety. Oh, someone's going to get me. Oh, they're all out to get me. And then you got to get past that and get to that place of love and brotherhood. And at times when our videos were the best was when John and I were in that, and I'm always in that. And John would leave it, and then he'd throw me out. And then I wouldn't hold it against him. I would go up and have a great adventure, right? Like I'm doing now, right? So there you are. You got your eyes closed. You're breathing in the prana, and you're letting go, letting go, letting go, right? And realize that your life is a ceremony. And I want you to breathe in. I want you to see every cell of your body. See the mitochondria, the prana around every cell. And as the RNA unzips that DNA and you have splitting of the cell, that is the shell. That is where we're going today. And we're going there, and we come out in the Fibonacci shell on the beach, and there's the blue bird fish guy, right? And there's my friend, the Colonel. And we're both in Hawaiian shirts and shorts, right? Mirrored sunglasses. Our USA hat. He gave me this USA hat. He thought it was funny. He thought I'd like it. And so, and we walk along the beach, and we feel, have any of you taken any sacred plants, mushrooms, Ananaski? Have you done any MDA or any of those things? The artificial ones. When you meditate, when you go into state with me, that's what you're experiencing. You're experiencing that connection of what ecstasy is. But it's not artificial, it's not chemical. Your body, it manufactures it, And that's when you can get to that place of self-actualization. That's what you're experiencing. Your body is produced, instead of adrenaline, when you're worrying about safety, the fight or flight, when you're always in that, that's what kills us. When you're in the self-realization, that's when you're bathing all of your cells in that DMNA, when you're experiencing what, who and what you really are, because you're, self-aware, you have a sense of self-esteem, you're not worrying about someone going after you, because you are with your brothers and sisters, you are with love of all your relations, see it clearly. Nicole. Okay, Nick. Okay. What's your old tat name? Yep, got some ink too. So I yesterday placed on my X-rated Blogspot, but my X-rated is just it's not the name of my site on Blogspot. The name of my Blogspot is Griot Publishing, Griotte Publishing, Publishing, blogspot.com. And that has my Bad Girl novel. And that's about a third of the novel I've been working on, right? So you get the first 106 pages, right? And it'll probably be 350, 400 pages long. And the first 109 or whatever it is sets up all the characters, all the different worlds, all the different experiences, and I'm marinating them together. So go watch that, right? Trying to upload live share to my Facebook. Okay. So, and when I put all those cuts up and put it under X-rated, it does give a little, if you don't want to read X-rated things, don't hit this button. And the 109 pages I had, a Bad Girl, I couldn't put it on that. It was too many pages. So I had to put it up into Google Cloud. Now, it's as, X-rated as the others, right? Because sex and physicality and all of those things, body functions, everything is part of life. And if you are upset by it, well, you're upset by your life, So all of these little sidebars that I'm going to, just visualize them coming out of the birdfish guy's head. I'm not even sure it's a guy. Because at a certain point we went over to where there was a nest and he sat on some eggs. But I do know some male birds that sit on the eggs. And he was explaining to us what great pleasure it is to sit on eggs, because you connect with your offspring, right? Just like the mother feels the offspring in her womb kicking and running around and having dreams. That's what he's doing in there, or she's doing in there. They're having dreams, So, and they're acting them out. And I've had girlfriends who were pregnant, not with my child, but, I met them. We were hanging out. They didn't look pregnant. I don't even think they thought they were pregnant. But then they started to get sick. And I said, you better go to the doctor. So I had friends. I was working the medical scene. I was a healer at the time, these two women. And, we went to my, gynecologist friend and, oh, yeah, you're pregnant. And so, I said, so what do you want to do? And she goes, well, I don't know it. I said, well, I can't promise to be here forever, but I can promise to be here for the first, year, help you out, get you to a place where, and if you want to do something else, I can help you with that too. I know it was legal by then, and like I said, I worked through hospitals, so I knew a lot of people who did a lot of doctors, So she went for having the baby. So it was, again, I've got all these godchildren. I've had the parental experience without having to be the parent. So those 9 months were probably one of the best 9 months I ever had, because I loved against my back, and I would turn around. She'd be asleep, and I'd start rubbing my head. I had real long hair, rub my head on the tummy, and singing songs. And she'd wake up, what are you doing? And then, after the third or fourth time, she would wake up and just enjoy the song herself. And she had, and I had friends who were midwives, and so, we had the baby in our building, and it's just like, if you read the story, The Bad Girl, there's a whole section of that, of what a family is. Anyway, so I experienced that, and then the baby was there. I cut the cord, did the whole. Because I was a doula. I was the old crone's doula. She taught me how to be a doula, and you girls know what a doula is, right? It's the assistant of the midwife. Does all the work. Prepares the food, keeps everything clean, keeps everything going, and helps the midwife deliver the child. So I did that, and that was a great experience. I mean, every to become a doula, and so I was there with her, and I used to let the baby try to breastfeed off me because I had this. Men have the same. We had hormones like women. We would have breasts. I could give milk, right? And so I thought the thing that would bring forth peace on earth is if men breastfed their children, because then they'd have some skin in the game. Anyway, that's how I spent a whole year, not only for the 9 months of that, but a whole another year with her. And, when the kid got old, and I was dad, but, I was known as the godfather, it's your godfather, because this woman didn't know who the father was, because before we hooked up, she was, a disco girl. And so she was having a different boy every night. So she had no idea. She didn't even know half who those guys were. And then they were there and then they were gone. That was the 70s. That was the disco days. Anyway, so I stuck with her for almost 2 years, all through that, because I wanted to experience that. I wanted to have that experience. I didn't feel like it was, why do I have to be here? Why is it so stressful? Why do I have to think about somebody other than myself? No, it was a great blessing to, have that person. Long story short, so I'm still friendly with mom and the kid. I haven't seen him in a while. I saw him the last time I saw him was 2011. Because that was the last time I was in New York City. And that person was, almost 30 and had kids. And one of his kids had kids. So, and he had a business, and he was an artist and an electrician. And thus, I taught him how to be an electrician. And so I never give up on my friends. I never, cut the thing unless it's, I have a lot of friends who I tried real hard, but they just wouldn't stop being neurotic and crazy. And there's only so much I can do because it's really their task to do it. I can help. I can be your griot. I can be your sensei, but I can't fix things. I can be a healer. If your body's a little out of, I can adjust it a little bit, but that's about as far as I go. And so there we were sitting in the sand, and it felt so good. That sand was like somewhere, it wasn't sandy like getting up in your crack. It like kissed your body. My friend was sitting there in setsei, with his legs crossed, and they were meditating, and I was conked out asleep snoring, and I could hear the blue fish chuckling in my head, and I hear him say, I remember what Sensei said about you, deep meditation. And so all of my teachers knew this fish. We're all connected. And when you can become self-aware, that's when you get connected to all your relations, right? So how long have we been talking here? About almost an hour. Let's read what you guys have been saying. Talking about the blue avian. Yep, that's who I'm talking about. Well, let's see. My books are spread. A good chunk of my books I gave away to different friends of mine who are trying to start libraries. But here at the Deep Green, I have a good 300 or 400 books that were my favorites. And I've been rereading them this summer. And I've read all my Greeks, and I've read all my philosophers, and I've read my Torah again. And I'm trying to get back because I haven't read Hebrew in 40 years. I haven't looked at Greek or any of the old languages that I was pretty good at. So rusty, it's ridiculous. But so I have a lot. So you guys want books? Come visit me because they're up on, like last 2 days it rained and rained, and I had a pile of books, and I have them in plastic bags and then in cardboard boxes, and then the cardboard boxes, in a plastic bag, and then I have it up on a pallet, and then I have it covered with a tarp. And last night it was raining and raining, and we haven't had rain since July 10th until Tuesday. It's been raining. Oh, really? It started Monday night, and it rained and rained and rained until this morning. So it was like I wanted to, see, it was a good test. It rained at least 4 inches. And so that was a good test to see if anything was going to leak, my tarps and where I'm sleeping. And the worst thing is to be in a tent and to be on your nice little bed platform and have the rain in your head. So it was good. I had a really good, there were a few places where it got moist, not wet, moist. But right where one of these pallets of books, and not only was it like that, but I also had another tarp over it and like a roof over it. And I got up last night because it was raining really hard. I put on my poncho, and I wanted to, I need to use the facility. So instead of using the bucket, I walked up the hill to where I have a toilet in the rain, and my good flashlight and my walking stick. And I feel prepared. I had my rain boots on and my tarp. And I have this great German rain poncho. Man, you don't get wet at all. And so I walked up there, and it has this great hood, comes over, and it comes like here, but you can still really see. No, I don't drink rainwater. I have a really good spring. When you have a really good spring, you don't need rainwater. Anything coming through our air is deadly. So anybody who thinks I'm a vegan, well, man, even if your food is grown organically on a farm, you're still eating crap because all the stuff in the air comes through the rain onto those vegetables in the ground. There's billions of nanoparticles of plastic and arsenic and everything that comes out of the coal electric fire plants. And so if you're eating anything, if you go to the co-op and you buy organic food, you're eating poison. If you're not growing your own food yourself, forget about it, right? So drinking water, yeah. But if you study with me the shamanic and alchemical things, you can energetically because and the other really nasty thing about organic food, it's shipped the same way regular vegetables are. So when they, take it out, put it in a box, put it in a truck, and drive it to the warehouse, that truck, they have poison in it to kill the little gnatty insects that are just normally on the fruit, vegetables. And then in the warehouse, they have that too. And it is the Xylon B gas. So your food, whether it's organic, bought at the co-op, or any other, unless you're growing your own food in a greenhouse that you are controlling every element of the process, you're basically eating poison. Now you can cleanse that with a shamanic and alchemical, and that's where everything is a ceremony. So all, those 1,000 meals that I made for John over the 3 years, because I eat making breakfast and dinner, sometimes lunch. So that was a good, 3 years. That's about 1,000 meals, give or take, because I'm getting close to 1,000 shows, and I've only been doing this for 15 months. Oh, and now here it is, October. We're in the 14th month of the open window. It's getting closer and closer to closing. And I would go tell you to go read Whitley Strieber's book, 2012, if you want to get a little heads up on what's going to come down after the 14 months. Go read that book. Go read that book. Now, if you are being affected by these shows, like I hope you are, and you're becoming that little pebble in the pond, you can, be like the Dutch boy and keep this away. And I have loads of friends, my family, my brothers and sisters, all live on the coast. And, they are going to get washed away. My sister lives in New Jersey. One of my sisters lives in Jersey. And Sandy, if Sandy had come up just about 10 miles, it would have